I have rewatched Sex and the City more times than I care to admit, and with every watch, I find myself peeling back the layers of the four women. Like an onion, a new perspective always emerges. Not only have I bought into the SATC fandom philosophy that it's a show you watch in your 20s, again in your 30s, and perhaps lastly in your 40s, I have watched nearly every SATC video essay that the algorithm has graciously thrown my way, and I bet you found this video the very same way. I read a comment somewhere on Reddit and, paraphrasing here, it said that the SATC fandom gets extremist. And I couldn't help but wonder if that is to the credit of the writers for creating characters that force us to interpret them through our own morality and make argument on how they should have navigated certain aspects of their lives, or to consider that the inspiration comes from a collection of events in real people's lives documented in Candace Bushnell's columns. Depending on what is morally acceptable within the confines of friendship, you either see Carrie as having bullied Charlotte into bailing her out of her financial distress, or you may sympathize with Carrie and argue that a friend with financial abundance like Charlotte is failing by showing little concern for her friend's financial distress. What I want to indulge you in is neither of the two arguments, but rather, why did Carrie Bradshaw rip the $30,000 check that Mr. Big wrote her? This is the very same check that could have easily solved her financial problems. My submission in a simplified version is that Carrie is a Miranda trying to be a Charlotte and a Samantha. To argue my case, I want us to explore the women's relationship with access to money from a man in the capacity of a romantic partner or interest. Charlotte accepts that relationships are transactional only under the guise of marriage. In her view, it is perfectly normal to access, make use of, and rely on a man's financial means, but within matrimony. What qualifies her access to a man's wealth is simply being a good woman. She is not afraid to demand compensation for performing the duties of a good wife, and she did it when she fought back for the apartment that Trey had gifted her. In this episode, when the ladies are having lunch and Carrie laments that Manhattan is a city of renters, the other women quickly point out that they own property. Carrie then highlights that Charlotte did not buy her apartment. It was gifted to her as part of her divorce settlement. Charlotte protests and argues that she earned the apartment. Whether we agree or not is irrelevant. To Charlotte, being a good wife alone justifies a financial reward, and she firmly believes that she was a good wife to Trey. Charlotte is the only one of the four women prepared to give up her job in favor of being a stay-at-home wife. She does it without any shame, comfortably relying on a man who is extracting her ultimate form of value, which is being a good wife. This conviction is precisely why she could confidently negotiate a $1 million prenuptial agreement. Carrie Bradshaw lacks the audacity to demand from a man what she truly wants. This is the same woman who had to resort to playing games just to leave her toiletries at Mr. Big's place. I suspect her hesitation is partly from being less financially successful than her friends, and she is likely to be shunned or labeled gold digger if she were to act on her wishes, unlike Samantha and Charlotte, who can easily hold their own. A financially stable woman enjoying a man's wealth is simply that. And a financially constrained woman enjoying a man's wealth is invitation for a lot of criticism. In Season 1, Episode 5, Carrie admits she envies Emelida's life. In her own words, she said, "It's a blur of rich men, designer clothes, and glamorous resort." She didn't actually work, yet possessed a dazzling power that she exploited to her full advantage. And in her column, she explores the hazy line between professional girlfriend and plain professional. She cares that a lot of people classify Emelida as Euro trash, and she doesn't want to be associated with anywhere that has proximity to that. When I say she is a Miranda trying to be a Charlotte and a Samantha, I mean that she is conscious of how she is perceived. For Miranda, she wants to be financially independent and will stop at nothing to prove her self-sufficiency outside of man, and for Carrie, it is the shame that she's trying to dissociate from. Samantha, on the other hand, is like Charlotte in her comfort in accessing a man's financial resources, but for her, the basis of the transaction is access to her body and her beauty. If a man has intimacy with her in any capacity, she believes she deserves access to his wealth. Throughout the series, we see her effortlessly make herself at home in her romantic interest's house, even when they are not there. She lounges and explores and occupies the space as she pleases. Whether it's in season 2, episode 10, where the housekeeper feigns politeness, or at Richard's place, where one of his staff finds her walking around the house unclothed. Her relationship with Richard is a tale of diamond rings, Chanel bags, and bracelets. Samantha is not ashamed to ask Richard if she can host a party in his mansion. She believes that their past alone allows her access to his resources, even when they're not together anymore. She thrives on being gifted and spoiled, and she is sometimes open to overtly transactional arrangements, like when Ed, a multimillionaire from season 2 episode 8, offers her anything she desires in exchange for a few happy years before he passes. He gives her diamond earrings, necklace, a tennis bracelet, and the promise of luxury indulgence, to which Samantha is more than happy to participate in, but ultimately runs out on him after seeing his old Segi behind. Both Charlotte and Samantha have enough financial means to absolve themselves of the shame of having the label of gold digger attached to them. Contrast this to Carrie, who funds her life through credit cards and is often depicted in financial troubles throughout the show. She observes how Samantha and Charlotte can easily maneuver this line of benefit from the men in their lives, and she too wished she could do the same. If you have watched my "Is Carrie Bradshaw a Social Climber in Disguise" video, then you would remember how she manipulates situations so that she continues to have access to Mr. Big while she doesn't do the same for her other love interests. Carrie Bradshaw is only comfortable with having access or making use of her man's money only if it's wrapped in romance. Now that I have partially argued my case, let's get into what happened in this episode. After Aiden moved out of Carrie's apartment, which was now Aiden's apartment because he purchased it and the adjacent apartment when they were planning their lives together, he leaves her an eviction note. She has 30 days to secure a down payment if she wants to purchase the apartment from him, and after a failed attempt at securing a loan from a bank due to poor credit profile, she goes to Mr. Big. Her point of entry is still covert and untruthful. She doesn't directly ask Big to bail her out, but asks him how he leveraged $3 million to build a $100 million building. Carrie Bradshaw, with her trade being writing and her poor financial history, not only that, but lack of interest in finance and business, did not go to Mr. Big to talk about LBOs and M&As. She knew that this would prompt Big to ask what was wrong, and he did, which ended with him writing her a $30,000 check. She polls her friends on whether to cash it or not, and true to fashion, Samantha thinks she should. Carrie has already done the hard part, which is asking Big, but she needs reassurance from the two women that she observed swiftly navigating this area. Carrie needed more of Charlotte's approval than Samantha because she sees Samantha somewhere near the likes of Emelita. Charlotte opts out of the conversation, saying that money talks makes her uncomfortable, and I call this bull. Charlotte was the one to bring her prenuptial contract to the women, talking about how she's worth more than $500,000. She is the same one to say to Miranda that she cannot believe she is prepared to be with a man whose future is entirely based on tips, reinforcing that a financially successful man is a big part of her dating philosophy. Her lack of interest in participating in the conversation goes back to accepting the transactional nature of relationships only in matrimony. If Charlotte shames Carrie in any way for accepting the check, then her hypocrisy will show, because that is what she did when she accepted the apartment from Trey. But if she tells her to cash it, then her pursuit for financial gain in addition to romance will be explicit, and maybe that's going to ruin the vibes and aesthetics? I don't know. I truly believe that if Charlotte gave Carrie a bit of encouragement in cashing the check, she would have. She valued Charlotte's opinion the most on whether she should take the money or not, because they have the same hunt for romance that Miranda and Samantha simply do not share. With Charlotte opting out of the conversation, Miranda protests to Carrie cashing the check, and she is risen from her own desire to continuously prove her self-sufficiency from Matt. She had the same argument in season 1 episode 5 that if Carrie accepted the $1,000 that the French guy left her, it would mean that she was exploited by a man. To nudge Carrie into not taking Big's money, Miranda proposes that she will loan her half of the amount, and Samantha offers the other half to protect the integrity of the friendship. And Charlotte, like a 13-year-old. Carrie, appreciating the offers from her friends, rejects them and rips Big's $30,000 check and announces that she will do this on her own, And as she's saying that, she's looking at Charlotte like it's her last days on earth. As I have already mentioned, Carrie only wants financial access from men under the guise of romance, which is somewhat adjacent to how Charlotte benefits from men, except that Charlotte mostly owns up to it. Looking at their engagement rings, Carrie insisted that Aiden take back his ring, even though he has said it multiple times that she can keep it. The nature of their relationship leaves no room for Aiden's engagement ring to be a cute trinket from a former lover. Samantha calls her a fool for giving it up, and when the question is posed to Charlotte about her ring from Trey, her response is simply, "I'm keeping it because I love it." My proposal is that Carrie was mad at Charlotte because she didn't provide the nudge she needed to take the money from Mr. Big, and her accepting Charlotte's engagement ring, while she gave up hers even though Aiden insisted multiple times that she can keep the ring, is simply because it wasn't romantic. She even says at the end of the episode that Charlotte turned a painful past into a hopeful future for a friend, and this is enough romanticism to excuse bullying Charlotte into being her bailout when she had multiple options, and the best option of those multiple options was cashing Big's money. Not only this would have solved her financial problems, but she would be staying true to her own desires. I found Charlotte to be childish and rude. To disengage in the conversation, all she had to do was empathize with a friend in distress. The conversation had not reached any point where the women were pledging, and even if it did, she's not obliged to. But her lack of empathy as a friend is very disturbing. Carrie Bradshaw may be one of TV's most self-absorbed friends, but boy, does she make a great video. I am currently on season 3 and I have gathered just enough material to do a video on one of the other SATC babes. Let me know in the comment section who you think that is, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and mwah!